welcome back to Save File as Paralegal. My name is Talia for those of you that are new, and I currently work as a house counsel legal assistant here in the state of Florida. If you are returning, make sure to like this video or leave me a comment so that I know that you were here. Today I'm sharing a paralegal tale or paralegal story, if you will, on my first job as a paralegal. I'm going to dish out the tea. Hopefully you find this helpful. And if you want more, make sure to stick around by hitting the subscribe button. Let's get into it. Okay, so first let me say this is not my current employer, and I think this is going to be super helpful to give you a realistic look into how new, fresh paralegals straight out of school, what you could potentially experience. And like I said, hopefully you find this helpful. So the year was I think it was 2017 or 2018. 2018. It was spring of 2018. I had started my paralegal program in 2017. I went the spring of 2017. And I was getting ready to complete my AS degree in paralegal studies, and I had a capstone class. And what capstone is it's like your graduation class. I don't even really know the best way to explain it, but it's like your graduation class. And in this class, you normally, we had curriculum, but it was like resume building curriculum, getting your LinkedIn profile completed, getting a LinkedIn profile picture that looked professional. And then we had to do an internship. And so I was nervous about this entire thing. Now, two things saved me when it came to this. One, and it was like 180 internship hours that you had to complete in that semester. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, y'all know we have jobs because this is an evening program. When are we gonna have time to do internships? And everybody, I remember everybody like freaking out, like, well, not everybody. I remember there, like, us, people of color, we were freaking out because we were like, we work. Some of us, like, I had a quote unquote, I had a corporate job. So I worked 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. I was off on the weekends, but then you're doing schoolwork, you're doing other things, and then I was going to school on the evening time. So I was like, when am I gonna find time to work? There were other counterparts that they were able to use like their job. They were able to use their job as experience. All they had to do was do different roles or different activities in their job. So if they were an administrator at their job, if their supervising attorney can throw them some different tasks, that would count. But I didn't work in the legal field at the time. I worked in corporate as in customer service for a corporate company, and it wasn't like your typical customer service job. But what else I finna do? So I remember two things saved me. One, I networked with an attorney that taught a class, and I stayed in contact with her, and I took another one of her classes, but I always stayed in contact with her, and that was like my first experience networking. And then the second thing that saved me was I always did, they weren't called office hours, but I was real close to our not our permanent people in our program, because in our program we had like the same teachers. We had adjunct professors, and adjunct professors, they were attorneys, but they taught different things. But we only had two permanent teachers, and they taught the majority of the classes. And I stayed in good graces because you never know when you're gonna need a favor. So I remember talking to my professor about it, and I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I was working 2 jobs at the time. So I was working every day. I worked sometimes twice a day. I worked my daytime job. I would go to my part-time evening job in the evenings, and on the weekend, like, I worked every day. So I was like, how am I going to find time to do this? And she was like, you have to get creative. And what she meant was, who knew? Okay, there were opportunities out there that weren't during the day. You could not even contract, but you could reach out and see if they needed help on the weekends, or if you can do it from home. And so I was like, now what we just talked about in class, how these attorneys don't want to move into a digital system, and here you are expecting me to find this magical unicorn of an attorney who's gonna let me work in the evening times a couple days in the week and on a weekend. Okay, so I remember going to my class, another class, like the next day, and the attorney that I kept in touch with, I was explaining to her, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do about these hours, and this capstone thing is like a required class. I was like, what they gonna do? Like, am I not gonna be able to start my bachelor's program in the summer? Like, what in the world? And she was like, oh, I'll let you do that. Well, how many hours do you need? And I was like, girl, what? And she was like, yeah, I'll let you do that. I need the help. I just lost my assistant, and I'm flexible. You can come in on Saturday. You can come in, you know, let me know what your schedule is the week before, and we can start doing it. So what I ended up doing was changing my hours at my part-time job, and I would work in the evenings there. And so she came in on a Saturday to, like, show me around, show me what to do, and she didn't realize that I had, like, no clue about nothing. I did not even know how to use a copier machine because I didn't require to before. I did not know how to e-file. What I did know how to do was organize. I'm a very organized person. Now what I can do is get these files organized. I did not know how to close a file. I did not know about legal systems. I was not in the legal, unlike a lot of the kids that were in, I'm not going to say they're not kids, but unlike a lot of my peers that were in the program, I had never worked in the legal field a day in my life in any capacity. And I literally was going through this program learning like the Little Mermaid, like Ariel. It's a whole new world, sis. Learning. So I literally knew nothing. Of course, I'm smart. I can put some things together. But in my mind, what I'm thinking is, girl, you better tell me step by step what to do, because this is your license on the line. Okay? I am just a student. So, but she had no idea. It was so crazy. So she came and I did like an orientation. And the good thing is, because she was a teacher, she trained very, very well. And she was more interested in making sure that you understood why you were doing it and what you were doing it, versus, okay, just do this and then tell me when it's done. But she was also mindful of her, I will say, she was also mindful of her license too, because she would be like, okay, do these things and then put it on my desk, you know, I'll go over it, which they should be doing anyway. But once you work more in the field, you'll come to realize that a lot of attorneys just glance over things. And I even find too, right now in my current role, I'll be like, hey, this is misspelled, hey, there's a signature missing, and you know, they have to go back. So anyways, so I'm working there for, you know, it's been a couple of weeks. I'm getting my hours, and I'm working 3 jobs, okay? Because I'm doing this internship, and on top of working my part-time job, working my full-time job, going to school. I just was a busy bee. And she used to let me go after my job. So I would literally get off of work at 5 o'clock, get to her office about 5:30 or 6 o'clock sometime, and work from like 6 to 9. Yeah, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, yeah, 3. I work from like 6 to 9. And she would leave me a task, or I would call her. Sometimes she would still be in there at 6 o'clock when I got there. And she would we would debrief. She would leave me her list of what I needed to be doing, which what I started doing was working on her closing files, because she was so busy after she had lost her assistant that she couldn't get to it. So I was reorganizing and checking the previously closed files and closing other files, and then doing some prep stuff for her, but it wasn't like super duper in depth. So girl, one night I get there and I call her like I had been doing, so she can debrief me on like what I need to do, what needs to be done, if she wants me to send emails to somebody, something like that. And so because of those debriefs, I was able to learn so much. Because of that on the job experience, I was able to learn so much. And another characteristic of mine, I am the type of person that wants you to over explain, and if you don't over explain it, I am going to ask you open-ended questions to get you to over explain it, so that I can make sure that I'm not missing anything. Some people can find that annoying. I definitely get that. I definitely understand, but I'm just the kind of person, I'd rather do it right the first time than have to go back and keep fixing and correcting, because to me that just takes too much time. It takes more time. But I remember telling her at the end of it, once I did get my 180 hours by the hair of my chinny chin chin, I was literally working up until the last day that it was due to turn in. And I remember her saying like, you would have never known that, you know, you've never worked in this field before. You never did this before. And I was like, girl, you are being very nice, because what I used to do, listen, I am the best that public school has to offer. I didn't know my punctuations was bad. My punctuations was bad. I could spell, or I would look up the word. But girl, I used to, in any word that I thought was important or like a law word, I would capitalize. Girl, it was a mess. It was a mess. My legal writing needed a lot of work. So she was very nice and very kind. But I say that to say that it is okay you have to start somewhere. Don't be intimidated because you have to start. Okay, you have to start somewhere, especially if you've never been in the legal field at all. I have never been in the legal field ever. Never held a legal job ever. Okay, up until that point. And what helped me and what made me get better is doing it nervous, doing it under the guise of like, girl, I hope I don't mess this up. And thankfully I had someone, however, that was patient. And like I said, she was a teacher. She was a professor at our school, so she is used to teaching people. And she also had a smaller child, so she was patient too. Which I couldn't have asked for a better intro in. And she wasn't mean. She wasn't a jerk, because you get those too. Which I have a story for you guys about that. Don't worry. But it is, you have to start. Okay. You cannot be intimidated to start. And another thing is, like I said, I'm going to ask questions, because I'm only going to complete this one time. I'm not going to keep going back and forth, going in and out to get this done. I'm going to complete. I want it done correctly the first time. What do you need me to do? And when I went to a different firm, that was what that attorney lacked. Okay. And if I didn't ask questions, if I didn't clarify, even if certain parts of the process was different and whatever, child, I would have been messed up real bad. But you cannot be afraid to ask questions. I don't care. Now I will say that if you find yourself asking the same type of questions over and over, then that's a separate issue, and you may want to start keeping like a notebook so you can write down about those procedures. I had a little notebook as so I could be like, okay, when this comes up, this is what happens. But if it's something brand new to you, ask your questions. If they get agitated or irritated, I don't care. I ask, and don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to ask about what you don't know. I used to be up there saying, girl, I've never seen this in my life. What is this? I don't even know why we're filing this. Why is this a step in the process? Is this what this is? And that's gonna vary from the type of law that you practice. The interrogatories in family law are not the same in personal injury law, okay? So the things that you have to file, you know, vary as well, and you want to know why and what it is. You don't want to just be doing it, because you're going to need to know when my answer is due, what needs to be accompanied with it, right? When this is due, what do I need to attach with it? So that was my first experience. It was interesting, to say the least. I have more stories coming but they're going to be helpful. I'll tell you guys about the bad as well, but I always wanted to be helpful. So let me know in the comments if you thought this was helpful. If you had a new experience in the law field and care to share to help someone else, leave that down below. Otherwise, you guys be blessed, be well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.